so far, but I can't lose it.
Sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now. The sun is setting on the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series as the Lotus 79s head into the shadow of the Gateway Arch. A new contender has emerged is on the cusp of more history, but can Sean Campbell continue his momentum on the egg-shaped oval that awaits tonight? Welcome to the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and welcome to the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewarsCandy.com. Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and coverage of this fantastic 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted as always to be joined alongside in the RaceSpot TV commentary booth by the one and only DJ Clark. But let's dive straight into our Next Level Racing pre-race show, because DJ, this is a race that we've been excited for, but the drivers have been more than worried about coming into this one, given how the practice and the warm-up races have been going.
Yes, they have been, Arjuna. We've been hearing a lot from these drivers that things are going to get a little bit sketchy out there, but we will get to that later as we take a look at the schedule right now. Third to last round, it is coming down to crunch time for the championship.
Here is a look at that Next Level Racing schedule, and it is a bit of an interesting one, of course, to end it. We started just a week ago at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve with this run to end out the championship, head over to the short oval, then over to the America's National Park of Speed. DJ and myself are very much looking forward to that one, and then a full month separates drivers from the double point season finale as the Lionheart Championship once again rounds itself up in Fontana, December 15th. It is going to be electric, the final of the races in the 2022 Lionheart Racing Series. Here's a look at the Next Level Racing driver standings, and remember, with double points on the line, Mike Rasmus's magic number is 120, not including the double points, and he is not far off that right now, not far off making his life at the high-speed gamble of Auto Club that much easier as he leads David Dewar and Matt Taylor.
Yeah, and the gamble there, I think, is the big part, Arjuna. Going into a big super speedway like that track, it's going to be very, very difficult to try to hold on to the championship, so they're going to have to go a little bit as they run. But Rasmus certainly looking pretty good here early on.
Note the MadWorks Motorsports teammates third and fourth. What can they do to try and work their way in front of David Dewar, who is really coming on strong? We saw him join the series in 2021 as maybe a road course ace, but he has rounded out the skill set. Here's the HyperX team standings, and yes, 5 points split Graphics LC Motorsports from the MadWorks Motorsports camp. It's an electric fight at the front, a tangle that started at the very start of the season. MadWorks Motorsports are running 1, 2, and 3 at Homestead before things came unstuck. It was Graphics LC that ran 1, 2, and 3 at the checkered flag. Still some fights behind. 40 Sim Racing has jumped in front of Raven Motorsports Silver, but the reality is here, DJ, for those two teams at the top, there is no room for mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely no room at all, and that extends down from the drivers who are not necessarily fighting for positions in the championship themselves. They have got to be good, and more important than that, they have got to be consistent and avoid those pesky DNFs on the day.
DNF's, I think, more pertinent issue today than we really want to factor in. A look, though, at your ButtKicker rookie standings. A big rookie class, but it's the semi-rookie of David Rodriguez, a partial campaign in 2021 that included a victory, a fuel-saving miracle victory. Leads this one decisively and is almost more than 120 points clear. He is 120 points clear. He is looking good to win this one. Luke Daniels has jumped up to second. Plenty of excitement. Let's talk to you, though, about your Gomez Sim Industry Series details as we work through Season 6 of this Lotus 79, rolling around the US to the ovals and then around the world to the road courses. It's a custom fix setup that all the drivers are dealing with, built by RaceSpot's own Andrew Kinsella. And the cash and prizes over $7,000 totaled up, with our champion walking away with a Next Level Racing GT track cockpit and a Moser Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula rim. Of course, one more Triple Crown to come as we get set to crown 2 new champions, with Aaron Morgan stepping aside and focusing on the IndyCar Series, and Avatar Auto Racing splintering up with 2 of their drivers now representing the MadWorks Motorsports camp. But a look as we return into the shadow of the Gateway Arch with the season winding down as your Moser Racing event details. It's a race, curiously enough, that pole position has never converted to HyperX victory lane. But Adam Blocker, unsurprisingly, has been the best here in the past with 2 wins. Matt Taylor, Mike Rasmussen, and Mark Cohn will all look to match them, but the reality is, I think tonight, DJ, is more about the expectation for cautions and hopefully not hitting that magic number 11 that we hit back in Season 3.
Yes, exactly. And we've heard a lot. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but we heard a lot from the drivers saying that this setup here tonight, it's going to be relatively easy up until about 20 laps. At that point, the combination of the tires and the fuel wearing off, things are going to get a little bit sketchy for them, and they're going to have to be careful from there on out. So look at that magic number to be 20, that if drivers are able to make it past that, I think I'm going to be a little bit surprised.
I think there's a couple of other things. We talk about the expectation for cautions, but it's also a track that twice has produced finishes closer than half a tenth of a second. The closest of them was just over a hundredth of a second. It was back in Season 2 when Adam Blocker beat Jake Wright in the 9th closest finish in series history. What do we have in store, though, as we will race into the night? And this Worldwide Technology Raceway is, I think, one where Sean Campbell, with the streak he's on, may still expect to come out on top, because it is an oval where road course skills will translate, and we saw this no better than when Romain Grosjean in 2021, DJ, when he took to the ovals for the very first time in the NTT IndyCar Series.
Very true, Arjuna. And this circuit, the first 2 corners here, deceptively tricky. Very high banked, very, very tight as we watch the drivers work their way into it right now. You've really got to get on the binders a little bit, slow the car down, and then be very, very patient coming around this left-handed corner. You've got to wait to get onto that accelerator to let the car drift out to the outside. Then coming down through 3 and 4, that's a little bit different. Pretty much flat out through there, but you've got to be careful and figure out how to line up your angle of attack to carry the most momentum and to hopefully make that dive down into turn 1 to make the pass.
So it's 11 degrees of banking through turns 1 and 2, 9 degrees of banking through turns 3 and 4. Turns 3 and 4 still a little bit shorter in terms of distance, but with the less banking, it tends to be where the speed scrubs off a little bit more. You can see cars working out of pit the apron as well. That's going to be a topic that we talk about. Track conditions likely to be something we talk about as well, but they're relatively cool, not much in terms of wind, but we're past 7 p.m. virtual standard time here on iRacing Day. So from here, it's only going to go down in terms of temperature.
Yes, it is. And what that is going to really affect these drivers on is if they opt to come down into pit lane and change the tires. Remember, the bias blind tires that we've dealt with over the course of this season, a little bit of a change from seasons past. They do experience a little bit more wear. So I think if drivers come out of pit lane after taking a fresh set of tires, it's going to take a little bit of time to get them back up to temperature, and that could be the determining factor of whether or not you take them.
So we've still got plenty of time left in this practice session. 23 cars currently provisionally lining up in the field, with the top 7 or so split by 7/100ths of a second. There's margins there, 2,000ths, 3,000ths, 6,000ths, and then Rodriguez and Malone, identical lap times on the board. Qualifying, we say pole position is not going to be important, and leading laps has been no guarantee of success either, DJ. But we think qualifying will still be important, at the very least to give you track position at the start.
Well, track position at the start, and the other part of it is, Arjuna, is you want to be up towards the pointy end of the field in case we get a big incident coming through turn 1 on the opening laps. That's a real flashpoint, and if you're farther down in the field, the narrowness of those opening 2 corners could really mean that you could find yourself in a world of trouble and have a little bit of a NASCAR-style big one.
Let's hope for no big ones here. So far, we've not had too many of them this season. We have definitely had that sort of luck. There's Mark Cohn. He's going to be showing us a pit entry as he works in through turn 3, the access road. Not the easiest, and we've seen plenty of drivers caught up, but you must take it. It's not an option, it is mandatory, and you see just how late those cones are as well.
Yes, very, very late there to be able to come in, and if we get yellow flag stops, one of the things to keep in mind is it is very easy to pick up a penalty, an automated penalty from iRacing from passing a car under yellow down into pit lane. You've got to be very cognizant of what's happening out the right-hand side of the car and really, really watch out for that. So keep an eye there for drivers to be a little bit more cautious coming down into pit lane under yellow.
So we throw 5 minutes on the board, drivers get the track to themselves and only 2 qualifying laps, and with the sun setting and conditions may be cooling, I would wager the fastest drivers may elect to hold on a little bit before they go, but maybe to my surprise, Matt Taylor is immediately going for it. What's the key to going fast in qualifying here as Taylor builds up some speed, builds up some temperature in the tires and starts his first lap?
Well, it's all going to be about the second lap here, Arjuna. You want to carry around the outside of the circuit here on both of the corners, and then watch for him to really cut down and take a late apex down through 3 and 4. You actually don't want to run super low through 1 and 2 ever. You want to keep it up about a lane higher than that. That is the optimal way to go.
So here we go. We saw just how slow Taylor was on that opening lap, and now opens the taps up a little bit more and will commit into the opening corner. Malone a little bit faster on his opening lap as he burnt the tires up for the second one. Razmas going fast as well. The time's coming in thick and fast, but will slow and steady be the key for Matt Taylor as he powers out of turn 4.
He's got a good line there through 3 and 4, and looks like that's going to carry him out. I would have thought he wanted to carry onto the line a little bit longer there, as he's going to cross over, and that's going to be pole. And
it's by a 1/10 and a half, but what does the rest of the field have in store? Here comes Mark Cohn looking to become a 2-time winner, 28.715. He won't go to the top of the board. O'Brien goes to second, Campbell goes to 4th. What can David Sirwar do? I think he's already actually done all his attempts, but he's still tracking well on his 3rd. Basically, personal lap, and I guess this is really why he was doing it, wanted to see what pit lane was like with a bit of momentum and a bit of steam. Technically, Gateway is not a short track. However, we think back to what David Rodriguez did back at Iowa with fuel. If we get a fuel mileage race, surely this is one of the favorites.
Yeah, he most certainly will be, Arjuna. And you're right, it's not technically a short oval by the very definition, but the truth of the matter is you've got to jump on the binders around here, and so because of that, I'm going to call that a short oval as they go. So plenty of time for them to be running.
So here comes Rodriguez to finish his opening lap. As Paul Jenkins jumps into 11th, he then immediately is usurped by the stealth black and red of Rodriguez. Listen in to the Lotus 79. Remember, a full graphics overhaul mid-season for these drivers, so a lot of them getting a bit of a head start on their paints for 2023. Had to throw that work out the door and basically redo everything for this year. Rodriguez, 28.639 for Fowler, the benchmark. It's only a 7.30. He won't go fast enough. We now have 4 more cars rolling onto track.
Yeah, we've got a few more here, including Jim Herrick right now, continuing to run on that high line as he goes out of that final, out of turns 3 and 4. Here they go right now. Herrick coming across the line. Looks like he's going to do exactly what I was talking about. Keep that car about a lane up on the circuit. Try to run it out a little bit farther to the wall. That's where you're going to see that optimal line be when we're racing. But Herrick here, I think, is warming everything up a little bit.
So Ricky Harden has already rolled onto his second lap. We have 18 lap times on the board. Craig Forsyth, Alex Guyon have end-of-line penalties. That's only 2 cars, though, that you'd expect to not see qualify. We have a handful more still yet to punch their way onto the board. Here comes the 7, making sure he is not hard in the wall. It's a 7.97. It's good enough for him to start on the outside of row number 4, but Luke Daniels is trending well.
Trending very, very well. Let's see what he is able to do. That's going to be 10th place here for the number 28.
And now his teammate in the 4D Sim Racing number 40 will punch in a 7.06. So he'll go up to 5th with 30 seconds left to go. I think that's qualifying done and dusted.
I think it is as well. I'm not seeing any other cars out on track right now, Arjuna.
So a 100th of a second splits the top 2 at the end of the day. Maybe more than I expected.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap here. As I said, this is a track. It's not like a normal oval where you can just plant it and let it go. You've really got to drive this thing quite hard, and so you will see those bigger gaps up at the front of the field.
Well, Go Fast time comes to an end for the 3rd time this season. Chris Fowler finds his way to the front of the field, but can he stay out of trouble?
That will be the key. It's time to run you down through the starting grid here today for the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewarsCandy.com. Here's a look at that ButtKicker starting grid. So it's the third pole of the season for Chris Fowler as he looks to try and add to the one victory he has, but it's now his fourth pole position of his career. His MadWorks Motorsports teammates find him at the front as they look to grab the HyperX Team Championship. O'Brien and Taylor through the top three, with Sean Campbell trying to spoil the party in that 26 RSR by ButtKicker machine, of course. 4 for 4 since joining the series. Jim Herrick, Mark Cohn round out the top 6. Mark Cohn looking to become a 2-time winner and match Adam Blocker. David Rodriguez, Mike Rasmath share row 4, with Ricky Harding and Tyler Groff bookending the top 10. Luke Daniels 11th, David Dewar alongside with some work to do from 2nd in the championship. Chris Reagan and Rodrigo Munoz 13th and 14th positions, with Paul Jenkins then in 15th in the 35 Elite West Racing entry. Trevor Malone to his outside. Chris Lanini and Danny Roberts share row 9, completing the top 20. It's series organizer George Anzaldo with a final lap time on the board, and Craig Forsyth, who will drop to the back. Hugo Gallis, Alex Guyon, Chris Staples, Richie Hearn. The 24 cars getting ready to go racing. That was a look top to bottom at your ButtKicker starting grid, and what a field it is that is ready to go for 120 laps here in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. As always, featured onboard cameras to walk you through. So let's begin by jumping on board with Mark Cohn and the number 39 machine, who carries with him Gomez Sim Industries. Makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
We also jump you over here to the Next Level Racing on board, provided by David Rodriguez. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com.
The beauty of sim racing cameras through the entirety of the field. As we roll for just one pace lap, drivers have got to get the temperatures into their tires, have got to get the focus in as well. But DJ, your expectations for what is expected to be a 2-stop affair if we go green from here to the end.
I think this is going to be a little bit scruffy, Arjuna. We had a couple of cautions last year that really brought out the field and bunched them together. Tire wear is going to be very, very tough around this circuit. You have got to be on your game and keeping an eye on those tires and the tire temperature. You don't want to abuse them too much too early. I think the driver that is able to keep that under control, that's going to be the one at the front of the field.
Put you on the spot. Is today the day the pole curse comes to an end?
I think it could be. Fowler is very, very good on the road courses, and as we said, this is a circuit that drives a little bit like a road course. My money's on the number 20.
Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and with 3 rounds to go, the championship hangs in the equation. Mike Rasmath is the favorite. This is the start of the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewarsCandy.com. And once again, Chris Fowler brings the throttle up. We go racing, and 3 wide between teammates immediately as the caution flies. A stack up at the back, and now Fowler goes around into turn number 1. Chaos and carnage at the start, and you could not write a script like this.
No, you certainly couldn't. I think Fowler there tried to dive on the binders a little bit coming through turn 1, and the brake bias might have been set a little bit funky, and it just caught him out.
He is well and truly cursed. That is for sure. Straight away, we go to the RaceSpot TV replay, and we pick apart whatever happened here. David Rodriguez just gets absolutely shoved, and then a hellacious lick sends him spinning around. Gallis, Malone, and Roberts, I think, mixed up as a result of that. A monumental mess to start this race off.
Yeah, it looked like there Rodriguez was just given a little bit of space up in front of him to make sure that there wasn't going to be a big checkup, and the driver's behind. Oh, that is my bad from Fowler. That is actually contact from behind. He was slowing for the yellow, and I'm not sure who that driver was that made contact with him. That may have been Jim Herrick, but just not really recognizing that there was that incident going on and that he was slowing.
Yeah, here's a better look. It is the 40 Sim Racing number 40. Cursed indeed. Chris Fowler, we can confirm. Spool this up one final time, right on board with Jim Herrick as well. Not the greatest launch from Fowler, immediately relegated to 4th. Caution is already out. Full responsibility there goes on the 40 Sim Racing car.
Yeah, and it looked like there may have been a little bit of gap, little bit of net code there in between the two, but that predictive insight of the speed carrying forward from Jim Herrick, I've got to say that I probably called that one right. He was going to hit him even if there wasn't a little bit of gap in between.
Sorry, TJ, the reason I'm laughing is because the caution was triggered so early. Technically, there are only 3 cars on the lead lap right now. The pace car was triggered so early that only Michael O'Brien, Matt Taylor, and Sean Campbell were told by iRacing to go around and catch the pace car. Everyone else will have to get a wave around. I've never seen anything like this in my days as a sim racing commentator, and I was tallying up how many events I've done. I've done 500 plus in the last 2 and a bit years. So this is something new.
Yeah, I haven't seen a real calamity incident like this. I've seen stack-ups at the drop of the green flag, Arjuna, but I've never seen 2 separate incidents trigger like that. This is a new one for me as well.
So, slow it down immediately. Hoping this is not shades of the 11 from back in Season 3. These races have had a tendency to go somewhat caution-free. Last 2 years, we've had just the 1 caution. A handful of cars come in, mostly those involved, I think, in the lap 1 incident. Ricky Harding amongst them with Danny Roberts as well. My days, I have never seen a start like this, and that's a season, this thing, that is in a season where we had a caution triggered automatically by iRacing on the road course at Watkins Glen, DJ.
Yeah, a little bit strange here. This has certainly been a season to remember, as it were, for a lot of these sort of strange incidents. It will be interesting, though, to see what happens here now that we're going to get restarted. Remember, it'll be in single file order, so we'll have to see if that maybe calms down the pack a little bit more and lets us get more than a half a corner into racing.
Here's the reality. If we stretch this one out for a decent amount, traffic's a constant problem. Pit entry is not as easy as one would like to think it is. There is plenty of potential for more safety cars, and we reiterate drivers' concerns about what the car starts to do after 20 laps or so. If the drivers don't have confidence in what the car is doing, it will make for a slightly nervy pack. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it'll make for a very, very nervous, twitchy pack here for these drivers, and I certainly think that you could see a lot of drivers acting that way, being, dare I say, a little bit scared of the way that the car is going to respond, and that means that you're going to see a lot of drivers not going for the big moves, not really trying to attack full sail. Is there we get the wave around here of the rest of the field. They're going to work their way around. Race control talking here. Looks like they're going to extend the green, so everybody's going to be able to be caught back up.
Oh, nice. So we will. You mean extend the yellow, not extend the green?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, I am picking up what you are putting down. Don't fret, but we didn't even technically really get through turn 1, if we are being totally honest. I saw Mark Cohen jumping into our YouTube chat, I think rightfully frustrated, right on board with his perspective.
Yeah, he was just a hapless passenger there. Absolutely nowhere to go. Caught up in that incident between Herrick and Fowler. Even if he had completely come to a halt there, I think he would have been caught out. And so very, very unfortunate here for the Watchman early on.
So we've burned what? We will have burned, rather, 6 laps by the time we go back racing. Now, this fuel window was estimated at around 50 laps. By no means have we eliminated the need for a pit stop, but we've gotten a little bit closer.
Yeah, we have, and I think if we do see maybe 2 more yellows over the course of the running here, it could enter into a territory where you start to eliminate one of those stops or at least turn it into a splash and dash, and that's going to change things up because that means that on that last pit stop, Arjuna, you're not going to be stopping for tires no matter what.
Well, hopefully this time we will start. We'll let you listen to the soundtrack of the engines as they hopefully complete a green flag lap. The concern was about 20 laps in, they didn't get 1 corner in. plenty of drama to start this one out, with 24 having taken to the green, but only 19 still out there and circulating. It's O'Brien from Taylor, still a Madworks 1 and 2, but now Sean Campbell sits behind them. The green flies once more here in Gateway. As you'd expect, much tidier as we ramp out of turn 2. A fight then for, I was going to say 4th position, but I think it's just a bit of lap traffic as we get up to speed. Ricky Harding a lap down, having to see the rest of the field streak on past.
Yeah, that is Ricky Harding doing a good job of running up to the high side there through 3 and 4, just getting out of the way. Now we've got a little bit of action here, as that's going to be Sirois trying to go down to the inside of Luke Daniels. A little bit harder to do, as you do want to try to carry as much momentum there as possible. Sirois got to be careful. He was touching the rumble strips down through 1 and 2. That is a one-way ticket to get that car to spin. I
have seen a lot of curious lines being taken by drivers, especially in the practice session. Daniels and Sirois still side by side, as now the 99 will slide up the track and clear himself. Daniels thought about the checkup and the opportunity to go back to the inside, but he will concede into position. Ricky Harding now has to contend with David Sirois trying to work his way forward. Already, separation at the front. Shock, horror. 6/10 the gap between O'Brien and Taylor. Sean Campbell going with them, but the championship leader, Mike Rasmus, has got to watch out here. He's already 4/10 off the back, and with dirty air likely to be a factor, cannot afford to get too wound up.
No, and he does not want to drive too aggressively here. He's got to let the car dictate the lines that he wants to go. You see him there working up a little bit higher on entry behind Sean Campbell. That's a good call. Try to get a little bit of clear air onto the front of that wing. That's going to help you to get a turn in through the corner, and it's going to eliminate air wash coming through turn 2. Very heads-up play there from Rasmus.
That's the graphics LC Barnaby machine, as we will henceforth dub it. We'll cross the line to get 10 laps in the books, and now start the 5th lap under green. Nice tidy run after a bit of chaos on the start. So retirement update as Malone and Guyon battle further back. Looks like Danny Roberts, Chris Fowler, Jim Herrick, Mark Cohn, David Rodriguez all claimed victim of turn 1 incident. I think Danny Roberts has tried to get his car back up and going, but looks to be maybe terminal damage to him. Plenty of fighting outside of the top 15.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit dicey here in the farther back in the pack as we take a look here on board with Hugo Gallas right now, sitting in the popcorn position as he sits behind Trevor Malone and Alex Guyon. Little bit more action here up at the front of the field as well. This is the battle for 7th.
Just inside of the top 10. Not really much separation forming just yet as you look at the track map on that bottom corner of your screen. Your leaders working into the opening corner. The final straggler is still working through the final corner. Bit of contact there for Ricky Harding, I believe, with Rodrigo Munoz behind him. Now Richie Hearn fights with Chris Lanini, but nervy moments for Ricky Harding, who is really struggling with the field coming past. 3 wide, we fight.
Oh, this could get a little bit hairy. Diving down to the inside, there is going to be the number 70 of Richie Hearn, trying to be able to take advantage of that. I like the heads up there, just trying to use Ricky Harding a little bit as a pick. Harding just absolutely caught out by this. He's clearly got the pace to keep up with the rest of this field, but trapped a lap down.
It's one of those really uncomfortable situations. Hearn will slide on through. Here comes Lanini with the momentum as well. Next in queue, Paul Jenkins. Front of the field, O'Brien now, 8/10 almost clear at the line. Still a Madworks 1 and 2. Sean Campbell impressing as ever, running up in 3rd and looking like he's still in the fight to keep the 100% winning record alive.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good here, just trying to see if he is able to keep himself in the line that he wants to do. He's within 0.5 of a second of Matt Taylor up ahead of him, so that's a good run. I think at this point, just feeling out this race is really where a lot of these drivers are, trying to get to that lap 20 marker.
I still want to see what these cars do after lap 20. Because if there has been so much consternation in the virtual paddock, surely it must be something vicious. Here is that fight just outside of the top 10. Still Ricky Harding works. Paul Jenkins will now concede potentially to Craig Forsyth with the end-of-line penalty, fighting for 12.
And he's trying to fight back here and looks like he's doing pretty well down to the inside there. Is Forsyth trying to carry a little bit more speed? That got very sketchy for the Elite West racing driver.
Yeah, and Ricky Harding is doing what he can. No one wants to see him just pull down. He's only a lap down. He will fight to try and get back onto the leading lap. But always concerning moments. Richie Hearn and Chris Lanini now swap around, but these drivers, amidst all the fighting, have dropped 1.4 off the back of Rodrigo Munoz, who in turn is 1.5 split from the top 8, who have now started to break away.
Yeah, and that breakaway is going to be very, very crucial. It is almost impossible to try to be able to gain up a big heaping of time here, although it's going to be easier than compared to running an Auto Club to finish out the season. It's still very, very difficult. You need to try to stick in that draft really through about 75% of the lap to be able to keep yourself up in contention.
So the leading pack still very much just working their way through. Left side, you can see the movers and shakers. And yes, there are plenty that have taken advantage. Graf, Sirois 5 and 6 up respectively. Lanini +7. Guyon and Richie Hearn are +9. But when there are those big numbers in the positive direction, there are the negative numbers to match it as well. My days, the Hornet's Nest continues to rage on. Richie Hearn's gone from what, 10th spot to 17th in a lap and a half?
I think he must have just gotten something wrong there. Looking at the car, I don't see any damage on it, so I don't think that's what it is, but that's just momentum playing out, Arjuna. If you get it wrong coming through 1 and 2, that's really going to compromise you through the entire rest of your lap.
You get pinched on a bad line, and sometimes it just does not work out. We'll see if we can figure out what happened to Richie Hearn in a moment or two's time. Here we go. Look at the replay machine. So Ricky Harding, at this point, Richie Hearn has already lost ground, I believe, because he is now behind Lanini, and I think just going to get freight trained. It's one of those situations where you pick a line, it doesn't work out, or maybe having seen the speed roll through the corner, Richie Hearn is just saying, I don't need any more of this.
It could be a little bit of a combination of the two there. He may not have gotten the good jump off of turn 2 that he really would have wanted to, and there you can see him again kind of being forced up a little bit high on the track. Trevor Malone going to take advantage of him as he comes down to the inside. Yeah, I think that's Richie kind of just indicating that's a little bit too rich for his blood, wanting to get out of the way. Now we look at him starting to work his way back up through the field.
I mean, I don't blame him. They're fighting way more at the back than they are at the front. Let's be real here. So I can kind of understand the maybe concern he is going through. Front of the field, fastest lap last time by a 29.001 for Michael O'Brien. There's a 29.033. Mike Rasmus, 6 thousandths between the 45 and the 68 in terms of lap time, showing that maybe dirty air not as big of a factor as we would like to believe. Will traffic be as much of a factor as we'd like to think? We are past the 20-lap marker almost, albeit we had about a 5-lap run under caution. And with the leaders coming across the line, we still have stragglers yet to enter turn 3.
Yeah, they're coming through there, and those stragglers, Richie Hearn down off on pace. I wonder if something's going on there with Richie. Wall. Yeah, he must have brushed the wall coming out of turn 1. Very easy thing to do.
Yeah, there's no explanation for why Richie would be so off pace at this juncture other than just a slight dash into the wall. Maybe he's the one showing us just how difficult dirty air can potentially be. Back with Guyon and Forsyth, two of the end-of-line club drivers trying to work their way forward. Guyon in front of Forsyth. This is 12th and 13th spots, but again, there is separation building now up and down through the field.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're starting to see play out here, Arjuna. If you decide to fight a little bit and keep up a little bit of a battle, it's going to cost you time, and that's really exhibited by the big gaps that we're seeing up ahead of Chris Staples. It's about 1.5 seconds, about 2 seconds with Lanini running in it. Lots and lots of time being sacrificed here to try to gain 1 or 2 positions.
I think we know exactly what's happened to Richie Hearn, so let's take a look. It was out of turn 4. This was back on lap 17, smack dab into the wall, and that's consistent with the downward trend that the 70 has experienced since.
Yeah, it really is there. And what that can do is that can jump around the suspension there a little bit, just cause a little bit of a problem there for it, as well as potentially even giving some under-tray damage to the car. Remember, these Lotus 79s generate the majority of their downforce underneath the car through those Venturi tunnels that suck them down into the track. So that could have been what happened there to Richie.
DJ, we are starting to see the car maybe becoming a little bit more difficult. There's starting to be a little bit more separation in terms of lap time. Tyler Graf has lost ground to the top 4. He's 1.7 or so back. Out of drafting range with Cyril Daniels and Reagan behind him in a train of their own. So at this point, it's where driver skill and preparation is starting to come to the forefront.
Yeah, it really is. It's really starting to play out here as we ride on board with Sean Campbell, who's starting to close down a little bit on the back of Matt Taylor. And as you said, Arjuna, this is where preparation, knowing where that car is going to be, how it's going to feel later on in the run, that is where it's going to come to play. And look at this, Taylor and Campbell now closing in on O'Brien.
Trying to think what we need to do to make this a fair fight against Sean Campbell, because, well, we thought we'd take him out of his element, we'd make him go to the ovals. That seemingly has not worked. So clearly I think we just need to put him in the Lotus 49 next time, because that would be the only way to truly make it a fair fight.
I mean, it's either that or victory ballast. That's the only two ways I think we're going to be able to stop the meteoric rise here of Sean Campbell in this Lionheart Retro Series.
Worrying, well, I was going to say worrying signs, but I think it's just an ominous omen for drivers heading into next year. Sean Campbell just likes to go fast. It's as simple as that. 30 laps officially in the books this time by. About 20 to go before we start to see the drivers peel off to pit lane, and slowly but surely the sun is descending beyond the horizon. The lights will soon be needed. Temperatures have really not changed too much, DJ, but it is almost perfect conditions for racing.
It's almost perfect conditions. Really, the only problem that drivers are going to run into is the glare of the sun coming through turns 3 and 4. And I wonder, actually, if that's a little bit of what happened to Richie Hearn. Just lost sight of the wall coming through those corners. But, yeah, track temperature 85 degrees, right in that Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about.
You talk about the, sun getting in the driver's view. I just wonder, especially in VR, that is especially blinding. I've experienced it myself, so I do wonder if that's the case for some of these drivers will be, especially still through turn 3. It's not that much better. Still, 4 cars, 1.5 splits them at the front of the field. Now, unfortunately, our Moser Racing driver profile was meant to be for poor Chris Fowler, but I guess that was just a sign of the curse that he was meant to see today.
Yes, indeed. The curse of the featured driver playing itself out. So unfortunate here for him. Obviously, 1 win, 3 poles. One of the consistent drivers that you can really expect to see up in the top 10, provided nothing calamitous happens to him like we saw here today.
That best finish was his first win at New Hampshire. Of course, put it on the pole, was able to convert it, but as always, the story is not as easy as that. Also has the pole position at Phillip Island this year, showing the speed on the road courses. There is Richie Hearn lapping with 30.040 lap times. Michael O'Brien last time by, fastest lap at 28.944. He has plenty of draft right now. Does Taylor and Campbell behind as they continue to close on your race leader, and you've got to wonder what the story is going to be, the talking points between the teammates at the front, knowing that they're still fighting for second in the championship, but at the same time having to fight for the HyperX Team Championship, and with Chris Fowler down in pit lane.
Yeah, that is really going to throw things out of whack here for these drivers. They're going to have to be very, very careful as they run and make sure that they don't make any more mistakes. As we mentioned, that is one of the crucial things here that you've got to try to be able to keep yourself going on. Is really kind of keeping an eye on both of those battles, both the battle for the teams and your individual driver championships. It's a hard thing to try to keep in mind on both fronts.
Paul Jenkins almost bullied there by George Anzaldo, but he'll power back around the outside and secure 13th for the time being. Fun little fight. Remember again, fuel window 46 to 48 laps. We are not far away from getting to that point. In terms of race lap records, if you're curious, well, we're slow compared to the lap record. That was set back in Season 2, 28.356. This car has undergone so many changes since then, though, that the 28.901 that Michael O'Brien has set as the benchmark so far, I think still shows just how fast-paced this track truly is, DJ, and it is going to be relentless for these drivers. It will be a mentally taxing race as well.
Yeah, it really, really is. It combines sort of the two worst parts of oval driving. When you've got to get onto the binders, you've got to slow yourself down and really focus in on your braking points, as well as running very, very close and doing the high-speed running that you have to do through turn 3 and 4. It can certainly throw you for a loop. This is really a track where you've got to kind of quiet the voices in your head a little bit. You can't white knuckle it around here. You have got to be very, very loose with your inputs and not try to jerk the car around too much, or you're just going to cost yourself speed left, right, and center.
And I guess if you don't quiet those voices in your head, you get the RKOs into turn 1 like we had that took out the likes of Chris Fowler. Across the line, 39 laps will now be in the books, and a reminder that leading laps, no guarantee of victory. Michael O'Brien maybe is going to be outfoxed on strategy. Could we see the potential for green flag pit stops to well and truly mix things up? Craig Forsyth very slow out of turn 4. Not sure what's gone on between him and George Anzaldo.
Not sure either. Looking at that pace, though, from Forsyth, I would have to imagine there's some kind of contact there that's blunted his momentum, but looks like he's at least able to get back onto it. Oh, big kind of slide there coming in. That's shades of Joseph Newgarden at this circuit a couple of years ago.
I think self-inflicted mistake, if we're being honest. And then if we jump on board with George Anzaldo, you can see just giving Craig plenty of room. Heads up driving there by the series organizer. Wanted no part of the trouble. Razmas in danger of being dropped. He's 8/10 off now from Sean Campbell, who's on the back of Matt Taylor as we again wind yet another lap away. Sean Campbell starts to put the pressure on to the teammates out front.
Yeah, trying to put it on here. They've got to be careful. I've looked on the last couple of laps, and Mike Rasmus in 4th place behind them, setting the fastest lap of the race, 2 or 3 laps in a row. So Rasmus is also coming onto the back here. We could have a 4-way battle on our hands if we're not careful.
It's a fun little fight. Taylor, you can see, struggling a little bit in dirty air. Yet again, though, work their way across the line. David Zero runs 2nd in the championship, but he will see O'Brien and Taylor out front and be a little bit concerned about what that will do in the point standing. But with Road America still to come, and then, of course, Auto Club being a track where everyone can shine, there's still plenty to play for. Behind Zero, Luke Daniels and Chris Reagan are running as Anzaldo and Jenkins. It's great fighting, guys, but you're now 4 seconds behind Alex Guyon. The more you fight, the more you're losing.
Yeah, and this really isn't a circuit where you can sort of play the leapfrog game that we've seen played out a couple of times, and certainly the side draft, which we've also seen into play at a couple of times. That's some of the super speedways certainly come around and may be able to help down a little bit as they go. But we keep our eyes focused here right now on the number 45, working his way around, trying to see if there's going to be any room to be able to gain up the front of the field.
So it's 1.2 that splits them at the line, the top 4. Again, 24 took to the green, but we didn't even get into turn 1 before the caution had flown. Roberts, Fowler, Herrick, Cone, Rodriguez retiring on the spot. Ricky Hardin 1 lap down as a result of the incident. Ricky Harding, getting myself all sorts of confused there. Richie Hearn is the one that has hit the wall and is down on pace, but has yet to come to pit lane. Now, you don't go 2 laps down when you pit here like you would when you go to some of the other short ovals. However, you still go a lap down, and so we still will highlight the danger zone as we work our way into that fuel window.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful. You don't want to be coming into pit lane here and then have yourself caught a lap down. What you really want to do is, frankly, if you can, come in sort of as a group to have a bunch of drivers coming in to keep yourself in good contention. Now, I think here some of the drivers, I'd be interested to see if the likes of Taylor or Campbell here maybe have been saving a little bit of fuel, maybe backing off a little bit and trying to be able to go a lap or two longer, or come on in at the same time as O'Brien and just be able to be a little bit faster in the box.
And with, you know, a handful of laps shaved off now with that one caution that we've ran, the final stint of the race was anyway going to be a shortened one. It was going to be, what, a 35 or so lap stint. So you have a little bit of leeway in terms of the strategy overall. It's what we saw last time at Montreal, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, DJ.
Yeah, it certainly is. We may see some drivers opting to take that short stop this way around, or maybe shorting it here and there. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. I think running an oval setup here, Arjuna, I'd be a little bit more hesitant to take an off-cycle strategy and try to do something a little bit creative, just because of that risk of getting caught a lap down. But we'll have to see if anybody is able to do that.
So still Razmas, by the way, with the fastest lap of the race. And as we get set to enter the pit stop cycle, your leaders out of turn 4 will see the first signs of traffic in front. And I think David Dewar has decided, you know what? It's time to come to pit lane. The Canadian will show us just how committed pit entry is as Matt Taylor takes the fastest lap of the race, and we enter the pit stop cycle.
We are fully into it here at this point. It looks like your leader, Michael O'Brien, peeling off. He's going to come down pit lane as well.
Followed in by Razmas, the championship leader. Now this is crucial. The execution has got to be perfect, not just for O'Brien trying to grab the victory, but for Razmas to make sure he maximizes points here today to remove the threat of double points at Auto Club, as we wait for Matt Taylor and Sean Campbell to decide it's their turn to roll to pit lane.
Looks like Taylor's thinking about it, Campbell's thinking about it. I think they're both going to come in, and yes, they are.
So as they dive in, let's watch O'Brien hit his mark, seemingly going up for front tires at the very least. And Razmas has already dropped and rolled and will take the net race lead momentarily. 7.1 seconds stationary versus 8.5 for Michael O'Brien, and the championship leader has tried to jump. Now what happens with Taylor and the RSR by ButtKicker machine behind?
That's going to be the real question now that we've seen one driver opt to go. Looks like there are both Taylor and Campbell opting for tires here, so they're both going to come down off of the jacks right now and get themselves back out.
So for them, stationary time is going to be 8.5 for O'Brien. Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out as the timing just all jiggles around. We'll get there in a second. But out of the pit exit, there comes O'Brien to be leapfrogged not just by Razmas, not just by Taylor, but by Sean Campbell as well. Leading laps is no guarantee of victory.
No, it certainly isn't. And Arjuna, I think part of the reason for that switch around there is exactly what I talked about earlier on. He had to put more fuel in the car. He ran that car down to the bottom of the tank because he was leading and he wasn't able to get a draft off of anybody in front of him.
So the final cycle of pit stops will work their way through. Razmas with a second advantage, but only momentarily. His car will be lighter. He's got to take advantage of it right now, and I think he knows that. But maybe he's expecting some cautions to play their way into this race as well. Behind him, Taylor, Campbell, O'Brien. That's the front four breaking away with Tyler Graf now up into fifth. In front of Syrah, in front of Reagan, Daniels, Munoz, Lanini, rounding out the top 10 in what has been a fascinating race so far, DJ.
Yeah, it's been really pretty interesting here at this point to see how it's going to play out. And these three right now, Taylor, Campbell, and O'Brien, they're kind of in their own little race. Matt Taylor trying to break away, close in on Rasmus up ahead of him. We'll have to see if that certainly plays itself out or if this is the way it's going to stick. They do have Trevor Malone to get around, who's a lapped car.
That's Ricky Harden rolling up a pit lane, by the way, as we jump onto the nose of Michael O'Brien in that 45 machine. trying to find some clean air to throw onto his nose, but there's only so many lines you can take around the corners here at this Worldwide Technology Raceway. 1.3 the advantage for Razmas. Not breaking away last time by. Half a tenth closed through a little bit of traffic that will play its part. The traffic will give and the traffic will take. It is as simple as that. We'll hit the halfway mark in 4 laps time. It's the championship leader that has worked his way forward. I think Richie Hearn may be done for the day because he's in pit lane getting some repairs and has been doing so for 90 seconds. And even though these cars are tough, that was a big lick into the wall that Richie experienced.
Yeah, it was a big, big lick. These cars are tough, but they're also very, very susceptible to that damage, Arjuna. As I talked about, just the littlest whack there can upset the under tray, and that can be enough to completely throw off the setup and make these cars nearly undrivable and off the pace.
1.7 now the advantage for Razmas. He is making up time hand over fist right now. 2 bits of traffic for Taylor to dive through. He gets past Malone. He does not get past Ricky Harden, and all the while the advantage still builds. It was more than 0.2 of a second the last lap alone. The gap, 2+ seconds now into turn 3.
That's music to the ears there of Mike Rasmus. He's going to know that that gap is really starting to expand as we jump on board here a little bit farther back in the pack. This is O'Brien. He's going to have a little bit of a peek down to the inside of Sean Campbell into 1.
I think maybe also just trying to get past Malone, who almost then ran into the right rear and may even have got himself up into the wall there. Good overall avoidance from the entirety of the field to figure it out in time. In my days, traffic can be such a difficult proposition here. Now can Taylor leave Campbell and O'Brien in his dust as he's put Ricky Harding between him and themselves? Next time it will be half distance, and maybe it's not a shock to have the running order as it is, with the championship leader out front, third in the championship running second, and then 4 wins in the row, Sean Campbell rounding out the podium.
It's a pretty impressive podium here as it runs right now, Arjuna, but we're waiting to see if everybody's going to be able to keep everything together. Remember, 20 laps is that crucial point after coming out of pit lane. We're about halfway through that point, and I'd be interested to see if things are going to get a little bit sketchy once again for these drivers up at the front of the field. Campbell looking very aggressive there off of 2.
Halfway through the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by JewelsCandy.com. It is Mike Razmas that has found his way to the front through the pit cycle and has broken away at the front of the field. The championship leader is showing why he's the foreman in 2022. But the run to the checkered flag here in the shadow of the Gateway Arch coming up next on RaceBot TV.
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Hello everyone and welcome back to RaceSpot TV and into the sunset of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. We're live from the Worldwide Technology Raceway for round 16, the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by JewersCandy.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside with DJ Clark for this one. And after a caution before we even got into turn number one, DJ, the drivers have gotten things cleaned up, and it's been a fascinating race since then.
Yeah, it certainly has. They have really and truly kept on their best behavior here, running clean and green since the drop of that second green flag. And some pretty good racing here. A lot of drivers just trying to be a little bit careful as they work their way around. I'm getting the sense that we are building towards a pressure cooker of an ending.
Bit of separation is building through the traffic. It's what we saw before we went to commercial break, and of course it will be the reality of the race from here, especially if we continue to go caution-free after the lap one shenanigans. 2.7 the gap at the front from Mike Rasmussen after slightly short filling, but also not taking tires, we believe, in that 68 machine. He has found himself the rocket ship of a car with a lighter fuel load, 3 seconds clear of Taylor, Campbell, O'Brien and Graf, the top five. The 98 machine is actually closing on Michael O'Brien. Graf doing a sterling job at this point in the race to move himself forward. David Dewar, Chris Reagan having a bit of a ding-dong battle right now, and just Reagan searching for some room, some momentum, and a line to try and find his way past.
Yeah, that's really what he's looking for here at this point. I thought that battle was going to get a little bit closer as they worked their way through some of the lap traffic of Trevor Malone. But now that Sirois has been able to get out into some clean air, it looks like he's doing a little bit better.
I'm always amazed when we think back to how start of 2021, David Sirois joins the series, and we're thinking, all right, this is a road course ace that will have to figure his way out on the ovals, and he has figured his way out. That is for sure. Also has been trying to break some records in qualifying, just seems to always be consistently towards the front. Unfortunately not the case here today, was just not able to figure it out. Margins were close, he was down in 12th to start, up in 6th now, taking advantage of the 5 retirees that we've seen so far in this race, 4 of whom double-digit positions lost, including the likes of Chris Fowler from the very pointy end of the field. Sirois will dance his way through a little bit of more lap traffic, and as you can see on the track map, there is really no relief of it. Matt Taylor works his way into turn one after just working past some of the lap traffic. He'll get a lap or two of relief, and then he'll dive straight back into it.
Yeah, he certainly will, and that lap traffic seems like it's really hurting him here compared to our leader, Mike Rasmussen. Rasmussen able to pull ahead at the front of the field to the tune of about 3.5 seconds, and Taylor is just having to claw his way forward.
Swings and roundabouts, right? If you're the leader, you are the first one to get to lap traffic, which A means maybe they're not ready to see you, B, they will not want to go a lap down. However, this also means sometimes when they see the number one next to your name, DJ, they're like, all right, I'll get out of your way. And I also know you're the championship leader. I am not here to try and ruin your race.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yellow flag! And it's in front of the race leader. It's Chris Staples in the 96 that will half spin it out of turn 4 and slow us down for the second time today. But what's that saying? Cautions breed cautions?
I think that's it. I think that's about right.
Let's go ahead and figure out what happened to Staples, but I think this is going to be a slightly self-explanatory one. Just too much speed, and he's basically drifting it before he even gets to the midpoint of the corner.
Yeah, and that comes from a little bit too aggressive of a turn in there into the corner, really just trying to hold on to it. There was Chris Staples. There you can see the car just starting to dance. The let's go heavy contact there into the safer barrier. That's going to spin him around. Dare I say that's going to be race over. Great avoidance there by Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, let's watch with Forsyth as we grab one more look at the incident. I think all 4 corners of that car got hit, by the way, for Chris Staples. But now, do we have some calls on pit lane? We have takers to pit lane. Remember, fuel window about 50 laps, so you can get to the end from here. And so everyone will likely be in, except for Rodrigo Munoz, who I think has just decided he wants to get the bonus lap, a bonus point rather, for leading a lap. But everyone else is down on pit lane for the final time today.
And as we suspected there, Arjuna, not seeing any tires getting taken, and it looks like there the year leader has been beaten off. Rasmus beaten off by both Taylor and Campbell.
So another switch around. Remember, Rasmus now would have likely had a little less fuel and would have needed to put more in to get to the end. Taylor 6 seconds stationary, Campbell 5.5, Rasmus 7.8. O'Brien, I think, struggled trying to get into his slot. He was 6.3 stationary, but still did not beat out the number 68. So as we wait for Rodrigo Munoz to likely return to the safety of pit lane, it will be Matt Taylor, who they now heads this race for the first time in front of Sean Campbell, Mike Rasmus, Michael O'Brien, and now Tyler Groff, David Dewar, Chris Reagan, Luke Daniels, Lanini. These are all cars in the midst of the top 10.
Yeah, they really needed this yellow flag to come up to try to bunch back up the field. We've seen the outright pace that they've had. They're not certainly slow by any stretch of the imagination. They just needed a little bit of time to be able to close back in. That's exactly what happened. And Arjuna, you called it perfectly. Rodrigo Munoz coming down into pit lane.
I think we've seen that so many times at this point that I've just gotten used to it. 2 cautions, given how this race started, is not too bad, DJ. Let's be real.
No, it certainly was not. You and I were talking a little bit offline that we were a little bit concerned after that first caution came out, but they have kept it very, very good out here. 44 laps to go, and we've only seen 2 yellow flags. Color me impressed.
Hopefully no commentator's curse is coming down now.
Well, yeah, obviously. Knock on your trademarked Race Spot TV block of wood.
We do actually need to get that, by the way.
I mean, I have a cricket bat next to my desk that I use for that, so...
I was also just about to say we could just force people to buy bricks from Indianapolis.
We could also do that. That's another good way to do it.
Yeah, and that seems a little bit more sacred to motorsports as well. There are cars that will get a wave around here, by the way, so we're not ready to go racing just yet. Wait for the likes of Hardin and Malone to get a lap back, I believe. Although I think Hardin has already scored us 2 laps down, so he will get a lap back and still be a lap down.
Yes, I do believe that is correct here. Richie Earn, by the way, has been able to come back out onto the track, although he is counted as 4 laps down. That car's still just looking a little bit off the pace. Yeah,
only so much you can do, but I think this caution would have helped him. Able to get the mechanics to work on the car a little bit more. Cars get their wave around, so we see the leaders pack back up behind your iRacing safety car and get ready to go for what is going to now be, a 42-lap shootout to the end. So we're guaranteed good on fuel. The question will be car handling. And if we get a caution at about 25 laps time, what do drivers decide to do? That's the question, but we have to wait and see how it gets answered. I think the reality is here now. Those top 4 cannot feel comfortable. I think Tyler Groff is here to party.
I think he is too. He is definitely ready to move his way forward here. Let's keep our eye on that 5th place car.
So, 2 cautions so far today, but with 42 laps still left to go once Benny, the pace car driver, hopefully returns to pit lane for the final time today. It's a tasty one at the front. Taylor from Campbell, Rasmus, O'Brien, and now Groff and company have joined the party. The engines build once more. We go back racing in the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewarsCandy.com. It's a good start from Taylor. Immediately, though, Rasmus goes on the offense, releases the pressure, though, into turn 1, and here comes O'Brien to the inside.
Great move there by Michael O'Brien, not waiting around for anything, just taking the opportunity that was presented there by Mike Rasmus.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Rasmus almost went too hot into turn 1, backed out too much to go too cold into turn 2, and now chaos out of turn 4. Noah's Ark across the line.
Noah's Ark across the line here as there's 2x2 coming down in. That's going to be Reagan and Sirwa. Sirwa up high, Reagan down low, waiting to see if momentum or the shortest distance from point A to point B is going to be the one to work out.
Can see the top 2 trying to break away at the front of the field, maybe slightly lighter cars relative to the ones trying to chase them down. Sirwa commits into the corner. Reagan had to give that one back up, and now Sirwa immediately tries to fight with Rasmus. I do wonder if we've got a bit of a changing balance in terms of fuel on board with these cars. With 40 laps still left to go, have some drivers figured out they can short fill the cars and still get to the end?
It certainly could happen. I know that was a problem I ran into last time at Phoenix. I accidentally overfueled the car and found myself about a half second off on pace on that tiny little circuit. So very, very difficult to try to make up for here. Is diving down to the inside. Reagan making that car look very, very quick. He's going to have another look.
Also see this battle behind as Reagan will in fact get past David Dewar, who in the sea of white and red cars. I mean, come on, guys. You got to make our lives a little bit easier. I'm just saying, commentators not known for their intelligence.
You're definitely right about that. Trying to make it a little bit more difficult for us. I want to point out, though, coming off of that line, Mike Rasmus taking a wider arc off of 4. That's allowing him to carry a little bit more speed out of that corner, and I think it's helping him keep a little bit ahead here of Reagan and Sirwa.
At the very end of the day, all Rasmus will really want to do is stay in 4th spot. Good enough points for him. Does not mean that he is out of danger when it comes to double points. 60 points for a win here today. It will be 120 points on the line when we head to Auto Club on December the 15th to round out the 2022 Lionheart Racing Series calendar and then head into the off-season, and a well-needed off-season for, I think, not just the drivers, the admin team as well, before we recharge and go once again for 2023. Front of the field, it is a 3-car fight. Taylor, Campbell, and O'Brien. The question will be, what can MadWorks Motorsports do here to work together to get back to 1 and 2?
Well, as we've seen, I think they're going to have their work cut out for him here as we look out the back of your leader right now, Matt Taylor, trying to be able to keep himself around here, but we really haven't seen all that much passing once the tires have worn in a little bit. Now, I wonder if, for Campbell and O'Brien, if they were able to keep things a little bit close, that they may be able to have a dive or two here with about 20 laps to go, but we really haven't seen it. Oh, good battling back in the field.
Commentator's curse seems to have struck Tyler Graff. He will try and send the outside line, but he's gone from 5th down to 10th. And now has to, whoa, that's a little bit reactionary maybe, as I think Paul Jenkins, a lapped car, tried to think about getting past, and Tyler Graff said, nuh-uh, you are 1 lap down, let me fight my fight for the time being. It's Reagan, the one that's charging the hardest of them all. Jenkins goes back on the offense, though.
Yeah, he does not like being put down there a lap, does the 35, and that's unfortunate. There clearly some speed from the Elite West Racing driver, and just, I think, got caught out a little bit in that first stint and found himself a full lap down.
The furthest back a winner has started previously at this race has been 11th spot. As it stands right now, those in the fights all started inside of the top 4, so that is not changing. Cautions did not breed cautions, which I am very glad to see. Reagan now still continuing to put the pressure onto the back of the championship leader. How hard does the 68 really want to hold on to 4th?
Well, I think here for Rasmus, if he's really put under pressure here, he'll probably relent to Chris Reagan. He just wants to finish the race and try to get as many good points as possible. Doesn't necessarily need to finish that far up the field. Now, the question's going to be is where his cutoff point on that is, where he is going to fight to stay. Is that the top 4, maybe, or top 5? Maybe it's up in the top 10. We'll have to see.
Love that camera shot all the way out of turn 3 as the cars work their way back around to this opening wider turn 1 and 2. Rasmus 1.9 adrift from that top 3, so not totally out of touching distance, but you'd think at this point with an estimated 15 minutes left to run in this race, 31 laps to go at the line, it would be a 3-car fight, and not likely to see traffic play its part as well. Trevor Malone, George Anzaldo, they fight to be the last car on the lead lap.
Yes, they do, putting on a good display here. Looks like Trevor's going to tuck into line there, trying to run a little bit of a higher line than George. Let's see if he can carry that momentum up. Got to be careful not to drift out too much, but there you can see that momentum really coming into play for that familiar teal machine. He's going to have a little bit of a look, trying to go for a crossover here through 3 and 4.
I'm just saying, if there was any driver that didn't have too many issues updating their paint for this brand new graphical overhaul of the Lotus 79, it probably was Trevor Malone. I'd like to be the painter that has to update that paint, to be fair as well. That seems like a pretty easy job.
Yeah, that seems pretty simple. And speaking of all of the red and white cars in the field, Trevor, thank you. Your car is always easy to spot.
Although now that you pointed that back out to me, I'm going to dig into RSR by ButtKicker because this series has a sea of red and white teams, but sim racing as a whole has way too many red and black teams, which is why I do prefer the Vector by RSR colors, just because it's green on black rather than red on black.
And I do love the shade of green that Vector does bring into it. It's a really nice pop on that black.
So I'm just saying, if you're listening, I won't charge you commission for these ideas. We'll just talk about credit being given where credit is due. 28 laps to go, still 3 cars. It's O'Brien struggling, though, to hold us close. Through the course of the previous 92 laps, though, DJ, we have not seen a serious fight for the race lead. It does seem difficult for second to close sufficiently.
Yeah, it really does, but I also wonder, Arjuna, if that was playing into fuel strategy, if that was playing into that tire conservation that we talked about at the beginning of the race. And I wonder now that we are closing down on about 25 to go, if the gloves are going to come off and we're going to see some of that caution thrown out the window and drivers are going to absolutely be pushing.
Still, Malone and Zaldo back and forth. A little bit of contact this time. You can see the lights have come up as well as the sun is well and truly below the horizon. Just the last glimpses of orange still poking up. And Zaldo back to the inside. He'll throw the slide job this time around and will rinse and repeat a handful of times more, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Good credit there to George. He did throw that slider, but blocked off the apex just right. Is another good block off of the apex there for David Sirois. Keeping Luke Daniels at bay, and now it's going to be Sirois trying to make the move on Reagan.
Craig Forsyth has gone from the end of line club to 8th and maybe in this fight for 5th, so let's see what he can do. Reagan starting to lose momentum and almost up into the wall. Razmas relieved of the pressure, and now Reagan fights with Daniels.
All right, so one doesn't play out. Let's see how the other does. They'll be side by side, and now Forsyth maybe trying to take a little bit of a look there.
Got 2 of the 40 sim racing machines maybe going to be able to coordinate and link up with one another after we saw Jim Herrick retire at the start of this one. It will be the look to the inside from Forsyth, who gets checked up and then sees Reagan squirming his way out wide. An opportunity presented once more. There's not much Forsyth can do, but some separation builds to those in front.
Yeah, and it looked like there that Forsyth actually had to check himself up a little bit coming through the corner. We jump back on board with Guyon, who's sitting in the popcorn position to all of this battle. Forsyth able to get by. Now it's going to be Guyon trying to be able to get by as well.
Reagan really hemorrhaging spots now, and I think maybe has taken damage. He's on the road to pit lane. 2 of the Elite West Racing machines have now run themselves, I believe, up into the wall. And Chris Reagan will drop outside of the leading lap by virtue of that unplanned pit stop with 23 laps still left to go. It is now a 4-second advantage that your leaders have back to 4th spot. If they can fight, they can afford to fight.
Yeah, exactly. They've got enough room here. They do need to keep an eye on Michael O'Brien there behind them, who will surely be happy to take up any pieces that they let off. But I've been keeping an eye here on Campbell. He's slowly but surely been working this gap in. He's not wanting to abuse the tires here too much, but he's certainly trying to close this the best of his abilities.
And now remember that all 3 of the top 3, I realize how redundant that sounds now when I said it out loud, the entirety of the top 3 have worn tires. They pitted in that first cycle and took fresh tires. Behind them, a couple more drivers have taken new tires. But it goes back to the bias ply nature of the tires, and it feels a little bit more like 2021 right now, DJ, where it seems like worn tires are really faster.
Yeah, it really kind of does here, Arjuna. It looks like those worn tires are playing out. We are hearing a little bit of talk in the chat that over 70 laps could get a little bit sketchy on them, so we're going to have to see how that plays out if any of these drivers are going to have problems there from this point out.
I'm trying to do the math right now. Trying to remember when they came in.
They came in on about lap 50-51, so it'll be just at the end of the race that 70 laps is going to be a little bit tricky.
Okay, yes, okay, so I I don't know. I think we're okay right now. Remember, 4.5 seconds now is that advantage. It's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. We did see how much drivers struggled at the start of the race just getting this car going. Let's not discount the possibility of the late race safety car to throw a wrench into the equation as well. Now a three-way fight building for 7th spot. Craig Forsyth looking back as Alex Guyon and Tyler Graf try and work their way forwards. Of course, Tyler Graf restarted this race in 5th, has dropped to 9th, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not looking as great as we were really promising him up there, and sorry to Tyler for a little bit of commentator's curse coming back to bite him. But right now we ride on board with Tyler holding on to that top 10 position. He does have a little bit of a gap back to Rodrigo Munoz there behind him, so that'll be good for Tyler if he's able to get a top 10 out of this run.
The laps are ticking by though, 18 to go. After this, of course, a trip to Road America, and then after that, all roads, as always, lead to Fontana, to Auto Club, where we finish the season off. I think we kind of have already penciled in the winner of Road America as the one and only Sean Campbell. However, I still think we're in for an exciting race because by no means have the road course wins that he's taken at DJ been walk-away knockout wins in the way that maybe we thought they may be.
No, they certainly haven't been. He's been able to keep it nice and close with the rest of the field, always providing an interesting race. And because of the very nature of Road America, those long straightaways, you're going to see plenty of drafting and plenty of drivers staying close to one another. I think it's going to be a pretty fascinating race. I also think in terms of pit strategy, it's going to be pretty interesting because of the nearly 4-mile nature of that circuit. It means that pit strategy is going to be a little bit narrow. You're not really going to be able to extend all that much.
15 to go for your race leaders. And the other tricky thing about pit strategy at Road America is let's not forget that basically out of the final corner, it is uphill the entirety of the way to your box. You cannot afford to short fill yourself. Adam Blocker has found out the hard way. And if Blocker has made that mistake, it is definitely not one that you want to make as well. I don't see anyone stopping Matt Taylor from taking his 2nd win here at Gateway and his 2nd win here in 12 months.
No, I don't either. They work their way by Chris Staples right now. A little bit of lap traffic as there they go. We ride on the nose here of Michael O'Brien. He was the big loser there coming through the lapped car of Chris Staples. Lost a couple of tenths of a second there to the ones up in front of him.
Here's the opportunity, though, for Sean Campbell. Just look at how he built, and he's got Taylor having to think defensively on the run into turn 1. It's 13 to go, and Campbell is within half a car length away. And now Taylor will have to place his car carefully to give the dirty air to Campbell at the right times and just fend off the challenges as we wind these laps away.
Yeah, I think here for Matt Taylor, the crucial part is going to be just run the line that you want to run there through 3 and 4 and up through 1 and 2. Keep that car in a little bit of a defensive posture to be able to give that bad run to Sean Campbell. You don't want to let him get on the throttle too early and be able to take advantage of you coming down into 3 and 4.
What can Michael O'Brien do as well, lurking in the back if anything were to happen to the two that juke for the race lead? But out of turn 2, not the best of exits for the RSR by ButtKicker number 26. Is the 100% streak about to come to an end? We thought it would happen on an oval, but Campbell continues to defy expectations. 11 to go, and once again, it's Campbell building up, and repeated offenses will give him the insight into the best ways to find his way past, but he can't wait too long and he can't leave it too late before time runs out.
Yeah, he's got to be careful where he wants to exactly make the move here. He needs to start lining himself up. It may even be a little bit advantageous to him to back off a little bit, and that may pull him into a little bit of range here of Michael O'Brien, but he needs to get the timing right coming through these corners, Arjuna. That is crucial here for him.
And I do think we have seen him trying to build that timing up on a number of occasions out of turn 2. I get the sneaky suspicion he's thinking of a drag race to the line out of turn 3, potentially. Turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'm getting that sense as well. I think he's just trying to game it out here as they cross over the line with 9 laps to go. I think he's just trying to figure out where to pick and where to pick his line and where to make that attack.
The reality is there are no good answers to this one. Let's check in through the field quickly, though, as we get ready to see the checkered. Still Forsyth in front of Guyon and Graf, but Rodrigo Munoz, you can see the Backfire Motorsports 09 has got Lanini behind him as well. They are closing. Might end up being a 5-car fight for 7th spot as these drivers start what will be 8 laps to go. Back straightaway and a bigger gap now for Matt Taylor. Sean Campbell maybe not looking forward. Sean Campbell looking in the rear view mirrors.
I wonder if some of that aggression that we saw out of Campbell maybe used up what was left in those tires, Arjuna. He just looks like he is falling off the pace, and he has done something he really hasn't done since the drop of the green flag after our last caution period. He has lost ground to Taylor on the last 4 consecutive laps.
If anything, the conditions will be getting better, but I just wonder in terms of tires how the 26 is faring relative to those around. No AWS statistics to throw at your face, but as we wind 6 laps onto the board and get ready to finish this one up, Matt Taylor does look like he's going to make it 2 in a row. It might be a little too late for the championship. Mike Razmas still runs in 4th.
Yes, he does, and that is a pretty safe position there for the 68. He's been able to hold out a gap of about 1.6, 1.7 seconds over David Sirwa, so that's exactly what he needs to do to be able to hold on to this championship lead, is just be able to try to claim a top 5 here in the next 2 races, and that should pretty much secure him the championship by the time we get to Auto Club.
Yeah, and even if it is not, completely wrapped up by the time he gets to Auto Club, at the very least all he will want to do is make sure that there's as little doubt in his mind as possible, as now Michael O'Brien goes to the inside for 2nd. Sean Campbell surely struggling with the car in the late stages. He has the outside, he has some speed, but it's O'Brien with the inside into turn 1.
All right, here they go. Let's see if Campbell's going to be able to roll that momentum up on the high line. We've seen it play out here a couple of times, but it looks like that car got a little bit squirrely. Able to catch it was Campbell, but that's O'Brien on by.
So Sean Campbell is human, apparently. We're learning these things all for the very first time. More traffic. Richie Hearn, part of it. Maybe Staples as well in the 96. 3 to go left. And now MadWorks Motorsports once again run 1 and 2 at the front of the field.
And that is going to be a very, very good day for them in the Teams Championship. Remember just how close that was coming into this, Arjuna. That's going to give them a little bit of breathing room.
What, 6 points or something between them?
It was ridiculously close.
It's been a fun season, that is for sure. And that is a championship that, without a shadow of a doubt, will go down to the checkered flag at Fontana. It is a championship that I will not call until I have confirmation from the admins as to which way it has finished. White flag is in hand and is ready to get waved for Matt Taylor, looking for his 3rd win of the season. This has been an interesting one. By no means has it come easy, but I think MadWorks Motorsports from qualifying showed up 1, 2, and 3, and DJ with 1 lap to go, they have all but dominated the race since then.
Yeah, they really and truly have. Just a fantastic run here for these drivers. Matt Taylor, an 0.8 of a second gap as he rounds out of the corner. It's looking very, very good.
David Silva says, well, don't forget about me. I'll punch in the fastest lap on the penultimate lap of the race. But what a roller coaster of a race. Caution into turn 1, but Matt Taylor survived through the chaos. He makes it a MadWorks Motorsports 1 and 2 and grabs his 7th win in the Lionheart Retro Series, conquering the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewersCandy.com. It's the 3rd win of the year for the number 8 MadWorks Motorsports machine, and in the fight for at least 2nd in the championship. Well earned points and much needed points with still 2 rounds of the championship to go. Next time out we crown our road course champion, but of course today we focus on the short oval, and Matt Taylor will celebrate and bask in the glory of HyperX Victory Lane.
A great run here for Matt Taylor. All the credit to him. He withstood all of the pressure coming behind him and just did exactly what he needed to do on the day.
Gateway always seems to put on a show, and even after some nervy moments at the start of this race, they managed to string it together to delight us with yet another classic. Maybe not as close a finish as some would have expected and hoped for at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. But it's Matt Taylor that burns it down in HyperX victory lane. This winning moment must feel glorious in the midst of the 1 and 2 for the team. A look at your SimRace247.com unofficial race results with the Madworks Motorsports 1 and 2 seeing the Sean Campbell streak come to an end. He does at least get onto the podium and continue to show his record and speed. But 1 and 2 for Madworks Motorsports, exactly what they would have wanted. Graphics LC at the very least still get Mike Razmas up into 4th as the championship leader continues to pile those points on. David Siroff 5th, Daniels and Forsyth for 4D Sim Racing as Forsyth came from the very back of the field, 6th and 7th. Guyon, Graf, Munoz 8th, 9th and 10th. Graphics LC at the very least 4th and 9th for 2 of their drivers. And then 11th for Chris Lanini with George Anzaldo 12th, the final car on the lead lap with Jenkins, Gallus and Reagan 1 lap down. Ricky Hardin, the sole car scored, that's 2 laps down. Trevor Malone in his Teal 34 is 17th with Richie Hearn 18th. Chris Staples, Danny Roberts complete the top 20 with then plenty of the lap 1 victims. Jim Herrick, Mark Cohn, Chris Fowler, and David Rodriguez making up the field. That rounds out our trip to the Worldwide Technology Raceway here in 2022. Well, that was a look top to bottom at your SimRace247.com unofficial race results. And that leads us into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloudline of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. And let's head straight down to HyperX Victory Lane and jump in with Matt Taylor. And Matt, after the caution into turn 1, I'm sure you must have had some nervy expectations for what the rest of the race would hold. But a great run for the team as Madworks Motorsports finishes 1 and 2.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Chris. He had a shifting issue on the start, and then that early caution, slow reactions to it or something, and he got caught up in it. You know, he obviously had plenty of pace, and it's funny, like you mentioned, being nervous, because I think the entire field was extremely nervous. The setup that we were running tonight, I don't know how it looked on the broadcast, but we were all but dirt tracking the car through 3 and 4, and there's a couple of spots through there where that rear end could just go on you, and so you're balancing how hard you push and how much you want to push that pace versus riding on the ragged edge of ending up in the wall.
In terms of now the rest of the season, Razmas with another great finish is looking like he is just continuing to pile those points on, but there's a great fight not just between you and your teammate Michael O'Brien, but David Siroff for second here. Of course, you're still fighting for a championship in the Speedway Series, but with Road America and Auto Club still left to go, how are you looking to maximize the end of the year in this Lotus 79?
You know, I think we need to just keep kind of running like we've been running. It's too bad for Chris because he's just had some horrible luck, as is typical for him, unfortunately. If we can get him across the finish line, you know, our goal is that team title, so we'll certainly be pushing for that.
It must be fun as well to have such a fun fight in that team championship. It came into this one, 6 points separating the two of you. How much are you talking during the races about where the Graphics LC guys are on track relative to yourselves?
You know, I don't know. I think we might mention it if we saw somebody disconnect or that, but I think most of us are so focused on what we're trying to do, especially tonight. This setup just completely demanded your attention the entire night, so you really couldn't think too much beyond that. Maybe a comment here or there, but not too much.
Well, congratulations on your third win of the year, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time from Road America to wrap up the Road Course Championship.
Yeah, thank you.
Matt Taylor from HyperX Victory Lane joins us, and we head down to his MadWorks Motorsports teammate Michael O'Brien. Michael, talk us through that one. A great day, of course, for the team, at least getting the 1 and 2. Unfortunate not to have Chris at the front, but a late race pass for you to get it done.
Yeah, that sucked for Chris. He had a ton of pace. That was a bit of a mess at the start there. Yeah, super happy for the 1-2, and super happy for Matt to get the win. That pass here, Sean, he was struggling at it too, so I started dropping it down to second gear to try and straighten up the exit, and that seemed to do the job.
Matt was making some comments about the setup. From your perspective, did you like a setup which you really had to drive and make the most of from your own personal perspective?
I absolutely loved it, yeah. No, it's after about 20 laps of green flag running, the car started really freeing up like quite a lot, and you had to drive it. Normally we have very tight setups, which is nice for safety, but it's really nice to be able to drive the car on ovals.
Congratulations on the great run, Michael, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time from Road America.
Thank you. 7 seconds. Second places.
Sean Campbell now joins us in the RaceBot TV commentary booth, and while the 100% record comes to an end, Sean, this maybe was the most challenging race that you've experienced in this Lotus 79, and you still finished on the podium. You must be quite happy with that overall.
Yeah, this was a lot better than I was expecting to finish last week. But, I mean, Gateway's a fun track, so I got to learn it. It was very fun.
I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying yourself. How much do you have to lean on your teammates in the RSR by ButtKicker camp to make the most out of these sort of races when you're coming in with such a fresh mind, if you know what I mean?
I mean, I definitely take info from them, right? Like, I get tips and whatnot. But then we get on track and we just kind of do it, you know?
I like how you make it sound so simple. Road America up next. I'm sure that must be earmarked for you as one where you're looking to get back to HyperX Victory Lane.
Hopefully. I really like that track.
It's a fun one, that's for sure. We'll see you there from November 10th. Congratulations on the great run here at Gateway.
Thanks.
So that will wrap up our post-race interviews in this HyperX post-race show. Always good to talk to the drivers and to get their thoughts heading out of what I'm sure was a rather nerve-wracking race, and to only have the handful of cautions that we had. They will be delighted with that one. But DJ, from the night lights here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway to the fields of America's National Park of Speed, maybe there isn't more starker contrast that you can get, but November 10th we get set to wrap up the Road Course Championship and then focus on the double points finale in December.
Yes, we do, and Arjuna, you and I talked about it. I am so looking forward to Road America. It is, without a question, one of the greatest gems in all of North America in terms of road racing. A corner for everybody on that track. It's got everything, and it is going to produce a great race.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, like we said, the Road Course Championship gets wrapped up then, but it's December 15th when these Lotus 79s take to the track for the very final time from Fontana for what has become a tradition, the championship showdown at the Auto Club Speedway. Well, unfortunately, this race flew on past, and it is time for us to say goodbye. But before we say goodbye, we thank those that make this possible, starting with the title sponsor, the Lionheart Retro Series. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit nextlevelracing.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com.
Also sponsored by ButtKicker. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. ButtKicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before.
Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane.
Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls, precision-built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
And it's not just these names, but so many more that make this all possible. To learn about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series or the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts forward, head to LionheartRacingSeries.com or stay tuned on social media for all the latest news from the virtual paddocks. A couple of weeks off, and then we go racing for the Moser Racing Grand Prix of Road America, presented by DewarCandy.com, the penultimate round of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Next Level Racing. Before that, the Lionheart IndyCar Series, presented by ButtKicker, returns as they head to Kansas for the ButtKicker Kansas 200 next Wednesday on the 2nd of November. Join us here live on RaceBot TV and on EOS TV after the fact for all of the fun. On behalf of the team at RaceBot TV, thank you so much for your company here tonight. For DJ Clark, for myself, Arjuna Kankipati, we bid you farewell from the shadow of the Gateway Arch, where the 100% streak has come to an end. But it is Matt Taylor that emerges on top for his 3rd win in the season to claim the ButtKicker 150 at Gateway, presented by DewarCandy.com. The season is winding down, but by no means is it over. We'll see you next time for more Lotus 79 Racing.